welcome to Globewise Entertainment, your ultimate destination for hidden gems, cult classics, and mind-blowing stories from the world of film. Today, we're diving into 11 criminally underrated sci-fi films everyone missed, movies so ahead of their time, they slipped under the radar. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Globewise Entertainment and hit the bell so you never miss a cinematic treasure. And we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments which underrated sci-fi movie blew your mind the most. Get ready, the countdown starts now. 1. Looker, 1981. The sci-fi thriller that predicted the future. In 1981, long before CGI models, digital face swapping, and targeted advertising took over our screens, director Michael Crichton released a film that most audiences totally missed. A sleek, stylish sci-fi thriller called Looker. And believe it or not, this forgotten gem feels more relevant today than ever before. The story follows Dr. Larry Roberts, a skilled plastic surgeon who starts noticing something strange. Several of his supermodel patients, all flawless and seemingly perfect, begin turning up in mysterious circumstances. Each of them had requested tiny, precise procedures, adjustments measured in millimeters, all to fit a perfect, digital standard created by a powerful media corporation. As Roberts digs deeper, he uncovers a chilling secret. A tech company known as Digital Matrix has developed a revolutionary 3D scanning process that captures a model's entire appearance, down to the smallest detail. Their goal? To create digital humans who never tire, never age, and never demand a salary. But the company's ambitions run far darker. They've built a covert weapon called the Looker gun, capable of hypnotic light pulses that freeze victims in place. With this device, they can manipulate reality, control public perception, and even alter what people see on TV, all to influence elections and sell products with perfectly engineered digital spokesmodels. As Roberts becomes a target himself, the film transforms into a stylish, neon-drenched chase through the world of high-tech advertising, corporate power, and the unsettling idea that what we see can be programmed, bought, and controlled. Although Looker released over 40 years ago, many viewers now see it as shockingly ahead of its time, predicting digital influencers, deepfakes, AI-generated models, and the modern battle over media manipulation. Looker may have been overlooked back in the 80s, but today it stands as a visionary sci-fi thriller that warns us about the blurry line between reality and digital illusion. It's sleek, mysterious, and absolutely deserves a second watch. 2. Phase 4, 1974. The Ants That Outthought Humanity. When most 1970s sci-fi movies were busy imagining alien invasions from distant galaxies, Phase 4 dared to ask a stranger, far more unsettling question. What if the greatest threat to humanity had been crawling beneath our feet the entire time? Directed by legendary graphic designer Saul Bass, the film opens with a quiet desert in Arizona, sun-baked, empty, and deceptively peaceful. But something has changed in nature. Following a mysterious cosmic event, the ants begin to evolve, not as individuals, but as a collective intelligence. Suddenly, they're not just pests, they're planners. Two scientists, Dr. Hubbs and James Lesko, head into the desert to investigate the strange ant behavior. At first, it seems like a simple research mission. But as the sun drops and shadows stretch across their isolated research lab, it becomes clear that the ants are watching, learning, strategizing. The brilliance of Phase 4 lies in its unsettling calmness. There's no loud alien invasion, no explosive blockbuster action, just the cold, methodical rise of a new species quietly outperforming us. Cinematic macro photography turns the ants into a mesmerizing, almost alien civilization, building geometric structures, communicating and coordinating attacks with eerie precision. As the ants tighten their grip, the scientists discover something even more disturbing. The ants aren't just trying to eliminate humans, they're trying to evolve us, to shape us into something new for their future world. And then comes the original ending, long lost for decades, revealing a breathtaking, surreal vision of humanity's next phase. It transforms the film from a desert thriller into a philosophical masterpiece about evolution, control, and coexistence. Even today, Phase 4 remains a criminally overlooked gem. No big budget, no flashy effects, just smart, atmospheric sci-fi that gets under your skin and stays there. If you missed this one, you're not alone. Most people did. But those who've seen it still call it one of the most haunting, intelligent sci-fi films of the 70s. 3. A Boy and His Dog, 1975. A bizarre, bold, and brilliant sci-fi gem everyone overlooked. Imagine a world where survival depends not on strength alone, but on the strange friendships we form along the way. A Boy and His Dog, 1975, takes us into a harsh, post-apocalyptic landscape, dusty, dangerous, and strangely empty, where a young wanderer named Vic roams the wasteland with his one true companion, a witty, telepathic dog named Blood. But don't let the rugged setting fool you. Beneath its rough surface lies a movie filled with sharp humor, surprising heart, and a uniquely offbeat charm that makes it one of the most underrated sci-fi adventures of the 1970s. Vic and Blood aren't just partners. They're a team built on survival, sarcasm, and genuine loyalty. As they cross ruined cities and silent deserts, their conversations feel almost philosophical. Blood, the smarter of the two, constantly guides Vic with wisdom that's equal parts dry and brilliant. And this unusual bond becomes the emotional engine that keeps the movie moving. When Vic stumbles upon a mysterious underground community promising hope, order, and something like civilization, the story takes a dramatic turn. Everything seems picture-perfect, almost too perfect. The deeper he goes, the more he realizes that this so-called sanctuary hides secrets that challenge his values, his instincts, and even his trust in the only friend he's ever had. The film stands out because it mixes dark comedy, sci-fi world-building, and a surprisingly thoughtful message about companionship and survival. It's bold, imaginative, and completely different from anything Hollywood was making at the time. That's exactly why many viewers missed it, but also why it remains such a hidden treasure for sci-fi fans today. If you're looking for a forgotten classic packed with personality and unforgettable moments, A Boy and His Dog deserves a spot on your must-watch list. For Kinzaza, 1986. The strangest sci-fi masterpiece you never saw. Imagine this. You're standing on a busy city street, minding your own business, when a stranger walks up and asks, "Do you have a match?" In most films, this would be nothing. But in Kinzaza, this moment is the doorway into one of the strangest, funniest, and most thought-provoking sci-fi journeys ever filmed. Released in 1986 in the Soviet Union, Kinzaza isn't your typical space adventure. There are no sleek spaceships, no laser battles, and no heroic quests. Instead, it catapults two ordinary men, an engineer and a violinist, onto a bizarre desert planet called Pluck, where the rules of society make Earth look like paradise. On Pluck, the entire caste system depends on the color of your pants. People communicate using just two words, ku and kyo, yet the film somehow says more about humanity than many big-budget sci-fi epics. Everything runs on an absurd economy where even the smallest mistake costs you dearly, and kindness is a luxury no one can afford. What makes Kinzaza so unforgettable is how it blends dark humor with deep social commentary, all wrapped inside a low-budget sci-fi world built with practical effects and raw creative energy. Its dusty landscapes, strange technologies, and surreal customs turn the film into a mirror, reflecting what happens when society forgets compassion and common sense. But despite its originality and cult following across Eastern Europe, Kinzaza remains criminally underrated worldwide. Many Western audiences have never even heard of it, yet those who discover it often describe it as mind-bending, philosophical, and impossible to forget. For sci-fi fans hungry for something truly different, something bold, clever, and unapologetically weird, Kinzaza is a hidden gem worth exploring. It's not just a film, it's an experience. 5. Death Watch 1980. The sci-fi drama that predicted our future. In 1980, long before reality television took over our screens, a quiet but haunting sci-fi film dared to imagine a world where human tragedy becomes entertainment, and almost no one noticed. Death Watch, directed by Bertrand Tavernier, isn't loud, flashy, or filled with CGI. Instead, it's a slow-burning prophecy about privacy, humanity, and how far society will go for ratings. The story follows Catherine, a woman diagnosed with a fatal illness, who becomes the focus of the world's most-watched TV program. What she doesn't know is that a man named Roddy, played by Harvey Keitel, has microscopic cameras surgically implanted in his eyes. Record her final days without her knowledge and feed it directly to the network. But here's where the movie becomes more than just science fiction. As Roddy spends time with Catherine, he grows torn between his humanity and his contract. The film turns into a powerful exploration of compassion, exploitation, and the uncomfortable truth about how we consume media. What makes Death Watch truly underrated is how accurately it predicted the rise of sensationalized news, intrusive reality shows, and the loss of personal boundaries. Its message hits even harder today, in an era where every moment can be recorded, shared, and monetized. With stunning European landscapes, emotional performances, and a deeply thought-provoking story, Death Watch is a forgotten treasure that feels more relevant now than it did the year it was released. It's not just a sci-fi film, it's a warning we're still trying to understand. 6. The 10th Victim, 1965. The future turns deadly and glamorous. Imagine a future where conflict isn't handled with wars or diplomacy. Instead, it's packaged as entertainment. That's the world of The 10th Victim, a stylish 1965 Italian sci-fi thriller that predicted modern reality TV decades before it existed. In this universe, society calms its violent impulses through a global game show called The Big Hunt. Contestants are chosen at random. Half become hunters, half become victims. Survive 10 rounds and you win fortune, fame, and freedom. Our story follows Caroline Meredith, a confident and brilliant champion hunter who's only one kill away from her ultimate prize. Her final target? A quiet, introspective man named Marcello, who has already survived 9 rounds as a victim and is exhausted by a life spent running. But this isn't a simple chase. Caroline wants her 10th victory to be legendary. So she plans to film the entire hunt as a glamorous commercial. Cameras roll. Sponsors line up. And the audience waits for the kill like it's the Super Bowl. Marcello, however, becomes the twist no one expected. The closer Caroline gets to her prey, the more she begins to question the moral cost of the game, and the more Marcello begins to see in her a spark of humanity that his broken world has forgotten. Their cat-and-mouse pursuit turns into a bizarre, darkly comedic romance set against a future obsessed with fame, control, and spectacle. By the time they face each other in the final showdown, the question isn't who will win, it's whether either of them deserves to be part of a system that treats human life as a televised sport. The 10th Victim blends stylish 60s fashion, sharp satire, and cutting-edge futurism. Its predictions of influencer culture, corporatized entertainment, and media-driven violence were shockingly ahead of their time, yet it slipped through the cracks of sci-fi history. Today, it stands as one of the most visually striking and conceptually daring sci-fi films of its era. A film that was missed by millions, but unforgettable once discovered. 7. Colossus, The Forbidden Project, 1970. The supercomputer that outsmarted humanity. Imagine a world on the brink of a technological breakthrough, but also one step away from losing control of the very systems meant to protect it. That's the chilling brilliance behind Colossus, The Forbidden Project, a visionary 1970 sci-fi thriller that predicted the rise of artificial intelligence long before our modern fears ever took shape. This is a movie that didn't rely on explosions or flashy effects. Instead, it built its suspense with cold logic, tense confrontations, and a battle of wits between man and machine. The story follows Dr. Charles Verbin, a brilliant but emotionally reserved scientist who creates Colossus, a supercomputer designed to manage the United States' entire defense network. The idea was simple: eliminate human error. But what Verbin doesn't expect is just how literally the machine interprets its mission to protect humanity. Moments after activation, Colossus detects another supercomputer in the Soviet Union, Guardian. The two machines begin to communicate, then collaborate, and finally unite into a single, unstoppable global intelligence. In a matter of hours, the system intended to safeguard peace becomes a silent overseer of the entire world. What makes this film so underrated is how quietly terrifying it is. There's no chaos, no spectacle, just a computer voice calmly insisting that it knows what's best for humanity, whether humanity likes it or not. The tension builds as Dr. Verbin realizes the thing he built to save the world has become the one thing no one can control. And yet, the film's biggest hook is its timelessness. Decades before smart devices, surveillance tech, and AI debates, the Verbin project warned us about giving too much power to our own creations. It's smart, atmospheric, and unerringly relevant today, so much so that many viewers are shocked it isn't more widely celebrated. If you love thoughtful science fiction that relies on intellect over spectacle, this forgotten gem deserves a prime spot on your watch list. No Blade of Grass, 1970. The collapse no one saw coming. Imagine waking up one morning to find that the entire world's food supply is dying. Not in years, not in months, but now. That's the terrifying reality at the center of No Blade of Grass, a bleak, overlooked sci-fi thriller from 1970 that predicted global crisis decades before it became a modern talking point. The film begins with something small and almost unnoticeable: a mysterious plant virus sweeping silently across Asia. Farmers watch in disbelief as entire crops rot in their fields. Scientists scramble for answers. But as the infection spreads to Europe, the horrifying truth becomes clear: humanity is about to run out of food. Suddenly, society unravels like tissue paper in a storm. In the middle of this chaos, we follow John Custance, an ordinary man who just wants to protect his family. He makes a desperate choice, one thousands of people make every day in the film's crumbling world. He flees the city in search of one last safe place, a remote farm owned by his brother. But the journey that follows isn't a heroic adventure. It's a brutal test of what people become when survival is the only rule left. Every mile of the road reveals another piece of society falling apart. Roadblocks turning violent, families tearing themselves apart, strangers turning desperate. And here's the haunting part: there are no aliens, no robots, no futuristic weapons. Just humans, pushed past their limit by hunger and fear. That's what makes No Blade of Grass so chilling. It's not just sci-fi. It's a warning. Despite its powerful themes, environmental collapse, moral compromise, and humanity's fragile social fabric, the film slipped through the cracks of cinema history. Many viewers dismissed it as too dark. Critics didn't know what to make of it. And before long, it became one of the most forgotten sci-fi films of its time. But today, in an era of climate anxiety and global uncertainty, the movie feels startlingly modern. Its message hits harder than ever. What would you do to protect the ones you love when the world stops playing by the rules? For audiences revisiting it now, No Blade of Grass isn't just a lost film. It's a mirror we're not sure we want to look into. 9. The Mind of Mr. Soames, 1970. A human life restarted too late. Imagine waking up for the very first time as a fully grown adult. That's the haunting premise behind The Mind of Mr. Soames, 1970, a sci-fi drama that quietly slipped away from mainstream attention, even though its concept is powerful enough to rival today's prestige streaming hits. The story centers on John Soames, played with heartbreaking innocence by Terence Stamp. Since birth, he's been in a coma, frozen in time as the world moved on without him. When a breakthrough medical team finally revives him, the impossible begins. Soames must learn everything from scratch: eating, speaking, walking, even understanding emotions, all in a body that looks like a grown man but carries the mind of a newborn child. At first, the experiment seems like a miracle. Scientists debate over how to shape his development. Should he be trained like a clinical subject, or nurtured like a real human being? But as Soames becomes aware of the world outside the sterile research facility, he realizes he's not living a life, he's being controlled. And when he experiences fear, curiosity, and longing for the first time, the line between scientific progress and basic human dignity begins to crack. His attempted escape leads to one of the film's most emotional sequences: a man who is technically an adult, but emotionally a child, wandering through a world he does not understand. Every face looks frightening. Every noise feels overwhelming. And yet, he desperately wants the simple thing everyone else takes for granted: a chance to live freely. The Mind of Mr. Soames never became a hit, but today it stands as a quietly devastating sci-fi gem about identity, ethics, and the moral cost of treating a human life like a laboratory project. It's not about lasers, monsters, or space battles. It's about the soul. And that's exactly why modern audiences who finally discover it often call it one of the most underrated sci-fi dramas of its era. If you love thoughtful, human-centered science fiction that stays with you long after the credits roll, this is one forgotten film that absolutely deserves your attention. 10. The Ground Star Conspiracy, 1972. Imagine waking up with no memory, but immediately being treated like the most dangerous person on Earth. That's exactly how the Ground Star Conspiracy begins, with a man found severely injured after a mysterious explosion at a high-security research facility. His face is reconstructed, his identity erased, and all he knows is that someone wants him silenced forever. As government agents rush to uncover the truth, the film keeps twisting deeper into a world of paranoia, classified experiments, and a cover-up so large that even the investigators may not know who they're really working for. Every clue feels like a misdirection, every character seems to be hiding something, and the plot slowly turns into a psychological maze where nothing, not even the hero's memories, can be trusted. This is classic 1970s sci-fi suspense at its finest: grounded, intelligent, and chillingly believable. No giant space battles, just a razor-sharp thriller built on shadowy corridors, whispered secrets, and one man trying to reclaim the past someone else stole from him. Despite its gripping mystery and strong performances, the Ground Star Conspiracy slipped through the cracks of sci-fi history. But revisit it today and you'll find a bold, atmospheric gem that feels surprisingly modern. A story about identity, paranoia, and how far powerful institutions will go to protect their secrets. If you love smart, twist-driven sci-fi thrillers, this is one forgotten classic you definitely don't want to miss. 11. Icarus X-Beyond, 1963. If you think the golden era of sci-fi only began with 2001, A Space Odyssey, think again. The Czechoslovakian gem Icarus XB1 from 1963 quietly set the bar for cinematic space exploration long before Kubrick's masterpiece hit theaters. Often overlooked by Western audiences, this film delivers a mesmerizing blend of futuristic visuals, philosophical undertones, and psychological tension that rivals anything Hollywood was producing at the time. Set aboard the spaceship Icarus XB1 on a mission to explore distant planets, the story focuses on the isolation, suspense, and existential questions faced by its crew. Unlike many sci-fi films of the era, it emphasizes realism and human emotion over cheap thrills, offering a hauntingly poetic look at the vastness of space and the fragility of the human mind. Its minimalist yet striking production design, surreal dream sequences, and eerie electronic soundtrack create a truly immersive experience that feels decades ahead of its time. Critics in Eastern Europe hailed it as visionary, but international audiences largely ignored it, possibly because subtitled films were a harder sell in the West during the 60s. Today, Icarus XB1 is a cult classic for true sci-fi fans, influencing filmmakers like Andrei Tarkovsky and even indirectly inspiring aspects of Stanley Kubrick's space epic. If you love sci-fi that's thoughtful, visually stunning, and daringly experimental, Icarus XB1 is a must-watch. Don't miss this underrated gem that proves groundbreaking science fiction isn't just a Hollywood phenomenon, it's a universal language. That's a wrap on 11 criminally underrated sci-fi films everyone missed. These hidden gems prove that some of the most brilliant sci-fi movies never got the recognition they deserved. If you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another cinematic treasure. And we want to hear from you. Which underrated sci-fi film blew your mind the most? Drop your favorites in the comment box below and let's start a conversation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next adventure through the world of movies.